All righty. Good for him. At least he remembered. He's pretty good about it, though. Yeah.
And begin for kids age 5 to 11. If approval is granted, they'll begin tomorrow. The Pfizer vaccine for kids is a smaller dose than what is given to adults. I'm Dave James on the Ohio News Network.
Live and local conversation for the Ohio Valley continues shortly, here on the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Modernize your home's lighting at Menards. Turn any recessed light into an energy-efficient LED downlight. Retrofit lights are dimmable, easy to install, and can change color temperatures. Pick up an 8-pack of 6-inch LED retrofit lights for just $14.99 after sale price and 11% off. That's $15 off. Get it now and update your lighting today. Good through November 6th. Savings are mail-in rebates. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Are you traveling? Working a little bit too much? Is your fur baby starting to get a little shaggy? Let Dirty Paws be your one-stop shop for all of your pet care needs. Stop in and see us at 202 18th Street or give us a call at 304-639-7754 to schedule your appointments for dog grooming, doggy daycare, and dog boarding today.
Do you or any of your family members, neighbors, or friends own a property that you just want to be done with it? If so, call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and we can close within days at 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you to take what you wanted and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. Call 614-470-2000. I buy properties as is. Make no repairs. Take what you want and leave the rest behind. We make selling easy. I buy vacant properties, pre-foreclosures, and inherited homes. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorces, death in the family, back taxes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Call TurboTrack Realty today for an all-cash offer and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Oh, there's something so real about living local. And I know without a doubt I'm not alone. And I love living local. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Said I'm loving living local. WTRF is working for me. The Ohio Valley is where I love to be.
Hello, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Partly cloudy skies, a daytime high of 48 degrees. Partly to mostly cloudy through the overnight, 29 for the low. Clouds, limited sunshine around for your Wednesday, with highs in the mid to upper 40s. Have yourself a great day, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Well, you city folks sure are late risers. I guess your rooster has a snooze button.
What day is today?
Today is election day.
What day is today?
Hey, it's election day.
Don't forget to get out and vote, everybody.
Get out and vote.
Election day.
It's election day.
Get to vote.
Come election day.
Let's vote.
It's showtime.
Live and local in the Ohio Valley, this is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
It is election day in Ohio. There are a number of minor matters in a lot of different local communities. I don't think any giant overriding thing, although, as Channel 7 pointed out last week, several individual communities are voting on, in our area of Eastern Ohio, are voting on essentially decriminalizing the use of marijuana in town, making it not a serious offense anymore. That's going to be kind of interesting. There are some other elections, and the Big Seven will be giving you election results this evening if you want to follow that. Of course, the big story election-wise across the country that people are paying attention to, I think, is in Virginia, where there's the race for governor is a huge deal between Youngkins and Terry McAuliffe. And the future of where the state is going to lead may be resting on that race and a couple others as well. It's considered a strong blue state right now, but it could be beginning to turn red depending on how things go. That's going to be interesting. And in Minneapolis, they've got a vote. Where did my story go? I think it's Minneapolis today. They've got a vote on. A vote on whether to replace their police department, part of that whole defunding the police thing. People in Minneapolis vote today on a ballot measure asking if the city's charter should be amended to replace the police department with a Department of Public Safety, and the Department of Public Safety would take a different look. It wouldn't just be law enforcement per se. It would be a comprehensive public health approach, including police officers as well as social workers and so on. I get the concept of rethinking our policing, and I'm not at all opposed to rethinking how we police, but this idea of defunding or completely changing it, I don't know, it's bothersome to me. But we'll see what the people in Minneapolis say. So a lot of interesting races to watch. There's one race I'm watching in Ohio, it's a state house race. And it's because, and this is where it's always interesting, politics and your personal connections can sometimes come into play. I don't know too much about the actual election that's underway, but one of the candidates is Mike Carey. He is the Republican running for a state house seat. And I've known Mike for a long time. I've known Mike from years when he worked with Bob Ney. He was a coal lobbyist. He was a nice guy. We hung out a little bit from time to time. So, my instinct is he's a Republican. I don't want to, but part of me says, but he's a good guy. I like him. Sometimes your personal feelings kind of get, and that's probably the way it should be. We shouldn't be so locked into you're an R and I'm a D and we're going to, we ought to look at people's character and their background and their personality as well as their political policies. At least I think that's the way it is. Before I get to Steve Adams, one other real quick thing. If during the news, my computer, my MacBook Air, suddenly popped on and said, "What do you want me to do, Howard?" Nothing. Just keep the Zoom going and nothing. I've noticed my devices are getting more intrusive in my life. The Amazon personal assistant, if I say her name right now, she's going to pop on, Alexa. There she goes. She's turning red and turning blue. My Amazon personal assistant has begun to just break out into conversation in the middle of the afternoon, like, boom, and it's just like she's reading things to me. Or one day she said, perhaps you would like to hear such and such a song. No, I didn't say anything to you. I think she's getting too bold. And I have really, really, really noticed, and we've talked about this before, I firmly believe my iPhone is listening. I have never done any online, back up. My wife and I are watching, we just done this weekend, we watched the entire series of Harry Potter movies, which I gotta say, I loved. I loved those movies. I was so sad when they were finally over. So we've been watching Harry Potter. I haven't done any online research about Harry Potter. I haven't looked up any information. All that's happened is it's been on in our house. And I'm getting ads about Harry Potter, and I'm getting news story suggestions about Harry Potter. I think the phone is listening to me. There was something else last week, the same thing, something I have not talked about at all. I mean, all I've done is talk about. I haven't done any online looking. It used to be understood. If I would type in new office desks, then I'd start getting answers. I understand, but I'm not even talking about this stuff. I mean, I'm just talking about, all I'm doing is talking about it. Biff, I'm telling you, I think the machines are taking over.
Oh, they're listening for sure.
Stephen Adams is with us from the Ogden newspaper chain. Do you ever get that sense, Stephen, that the machines are taking over?
They've certainly taken over my new house. I've got an Alexa dot on every floor. See, yep, no one's talking to you. We're just talking about you. Mine just lit up blue. We got a Blink doorbell. We've got most of the devices. We've got, smart bulbs, so I can turn those off and on by the power of my voice. And it just seems like if I even think about something, I see an ad for it now. It's almost like that scene in Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where all the ads are tailored to you wherever you go. So, the quote that the song with the famous Michael Jackson hook, I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Yeah. I thought we have. I'm going to say her name. She's going to pop up. We have Alexa in many places and throughout the house, about 5 of them, I think. We have the Ring doorbell. And my Ring doorbell and my son and daughter-in-law's Ring doorbell, they're down the street. They're connected, so I can see what's going on out on the front of their house. I own a piece of property elsewhere, and I've got cameras all around it, so whenever somebody moves in the backyard. I've got cameras that we put into our house, inside the house when my grandson was little. We don't need to monitor him the way we did then, but they're still there. I can peer into the different. God, and that's we're doing this voluntarily, Stephen.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like, they always say, what's the future going to be like, 1984 or what's that other book that I'm thinking of? I lost my train of thought, but we're sort of doing this all to ourselves versus having a big brother do it to us. But at the same time, it brings conveniences, and it can be pretty handy. And I may go so far as get a smart thermostat, and hopefully might even start saving on electric bills, which could get higher this year. So there's benefits. And there's downsides for sure.
Yep. And we have the Nest thermostat here, so it's a smart thermostat. And what's neat is I can adjust it from my phone. So like when we were on vacation, I kept the temperature low. But the night we came back, I raised it up so it would be warm when we got here. I did that from afar. It's just, but we're giving away some, I think, privacy. Not, I don't think, and it's not some. We are giving away a good bit of privacy for convenience. I am still at the point where I'm willing to make that trade-off, but I do get nervous. Let me ask you about your new house. You just bought a house. You just moved in. I watched your progression on Twitter. I never saw people move in so quickly. I mean, you went from an empty box to a really, really nicely furnished and decorated house. What the hell secret do you guys have?
Well, my wife is highly organized, and I'm highly OCD. So we pretty much had this set up to where when we packed everything up, everything was in boxes. Even multiple things that were boxed up were put into boxes of their own, and everything was properly marked. And and we ended up using a moving service, which was very efficient. And we moved in on Saturday, and we spent Saturday and Sunday just powering through boxes, and we really had everything pretty much unboxed by the end of the day Sunday. And throughout the week, we had stuff put on the walls, and I pretty much had my office put together, which you've seen pictures of, relatively quickly. And it's just, we're both very organized people, and we just powered through it real quick. And it also kind of helps that we moved from a 2-bedroom apartment on the 3rd story of an apartment building into this house, so we didn't have as much coming into it, and I think that helped us. And the fact that the house that we bought is actually a fairly small house. It's the right size for us, and even if we have a kid later, it'll be fine as far as size goes. But it's a fairly small house as far as they go, so it helps. It just didn't take long to put together.
I know the audience doesn't care, but I'm just curious. Did you buy new furniture for the house? It all looks very nice. Your furniture seems like it matches. It looks, it looks like one of those magazine spreads you got there.
The only new furniture we really bought was the living room suite because we had a mishmash of couches and love seats that when we first moved together 8 years ago got combined together. Stuff when she was in college, stuff I had scrounged together back when I was a poor reporter, a decade ago here in Charleston. And so, no, when we moved in here, we decided that we were going to invest in some good quality living room furniture, and we bought things we didn't really have before, nice coffee tables and end tables and things like that. But beyond that, I mean, we have the same bed that we've always had. A lot of our miscellaneous furniture is pretty much all the same. But, yeah, when we decided that if we were going to move into a house and have a nice living room, that we were going to invest to make that nice.
One last comment about your house, and then we'll move on to what we're really here to talk about. But I love the Captain America shield you have hanging on your office.
Well, that's not even a collectible. That's from a Halloween costume I had.
Really?
A few years ago. Yeah, it's just a plastic shield, but it's really nice. So I've never gotten rid of it as a result. So it's not one of those real nice collectible ones that's made out of some sort of metal or anything like that. It's just basic plastic, but I've somehow have managed not to get it all banged up. I even still have the Captain America costume. Hopefully I can fit back into it at some point. But
That's a picture I want to see. You and your Captain American suit. All right, let's talk politics. Senator Manchin goes before the press yesterday, issues a statement. I called it earlier. I thought he was a bit of a scold yesterday, quite frankly, at least to Congress. I don't know if you felt that's too strong a phrase or not, but I mean, I think he was scolding his congressional colleagues for not moving faster on the bipartisan infrastructure bill.
yeah, but I also think it's a combination of it being tired too. As you can imagine, he is being inundated from everybody. I have it on pretty good authority through sources that his people, both on Capitol Hill and in the state, his staff have had to reach out to even friends that have been reaching out for this or that, and just tell everyone, chill out, back off a little bit. We are being inundated right now. So I think he's stressed, and I do think he's frustrated. He worked on the bipartisan infrastructure framework, what they're calling the BIF. That passed the Senate back in August, and here we are. See, there's my Alexa going off now. I think they are extremely frustrated with how things are going right now, the pace of this thing. That passed in August, and here we are into November, and it still hasn't been taken up. He's under the impression it's being held hostage, particularly by the Progressive Caucus. Incidentally, they think that Manchin's holding things hostage. So, it depends on what side of the coin you are on that. But there's a lot of frustration there, and I think that came out yesterday. And it's frustration that might actually pay off because there's already been some movement to start getting some of these things moving with possible votes this week. So we'll see. But, yeah, I think it's born out of a lot of frustration.
He aggressively encouraged Congress to pass the bipartisan, or to take up at least, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which already passed the Senate. So he says, that's your responsibility to get that done. On the issue of the second bill, the so-called reconciliation bill, the social spending side of things, he still isn't willing to say he would or would not sign on. At least that's the way I heard what he had to say yesterday. Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
I think that's part of it. I think he isn't really saying anything new that he hasn't said all along. He's called for a pause, mostly so they can evaluate, especially now, he wants to see the language of this bill. I know there are some members of Congress that want to see a CBO score. They want to see what the assessment of this bill looks like as far as what money it'll bring in, whether it's truly going to be paid for, whether it will affect inflation or not. Of course, President Joe Biden and Democratic leaders that have been working on this say it won't, but there is a little bit of trust but verify going on there. But it's not terribly a different message than what Manchin has said all along. Obviously he's pushed back against the 3.5 trillion price tag and the earlier 6 trillion price tag, and now it appears it's down to about 1.75 trillion. I think he would probably still
Stephen,
prefer to
isn't
go
that
down
the
to
number
1.5.
isn't that the number that Manchin himself at one time said he would accept?
Yeah, I mean, he has said that in the past, but obviously he's changed his mind, and I think a lot of that has to do with, the inflation situation going on out there, which I know that I think the Fed has, tried to say is a temporary thing, but if you're, trying to figure out what you want to do for Christmas this year with the supply chain issues and with the cost of goods, cost of gasoline or whatnot, I mean, it probably doesn't seem temporary to you, especially when you're trying to buy something right now. So I think those are concerns that when Manchin first originally said he'd support the higher number, I don't know that they were in the background, but they weren't quite there yet. Now I feel like those issues are more in the forefront, and it's something that's weighing heavily on their minds. We still have a bunch of money out there from the American Rescue Plan that hasn't even really went out the door. West Virginia is still waiting on its broadband. So I think there's a lot of wait and see there that they want to see all these different factors and evaluate that and then tailor a social spending human infrastructure bill to what the needs are.
This bill has changed and been modified so many times. I lose track. In the current version that Biden was talking about on Friday, which I guess is what we have at the moment to consider the framework, is the billionaires tax or the millionaires tax in there? Do you know what is the pay for in the current framework?
Well, it seems like the original sort of tax that they were talking about, which I think was categorized by some economists as basically trying to tax theoretical revenues that could come. I think that's kind of out of it, but I know that there is still some hope from some of the people that have tried to craft that particular mechanism that you get it back in. The primary mechanism that's in it right now is an increase of corporate minimum tax on large corporations. That's really the primary part of it. Plus, they're going to try to tax, I believe, stock buybacks. That's a part of it, and then increased enforcement funding for the IRS to start going after back taxes and things like that. So that right now are the pay-fors for the Build Back Better plan.
As liberal or progressive Democrat as I kind of am, or at least a moderately liberal progressive Democrat, I never did buy into what they called the billionaire tax, which was the taxing on essentially your, I don't know what there's a word for it, I won't call it your static income. Yes, Jeff Bezos is worth whatever it is, billions of dollars, but it's all in stock. I don't know how you can tax that. I mean, I just don't understand that because it still sits there in stock. It could go up, it could go down, but how do you tax it? I thought that was just an unworkable plan. I think that has been taken out, I believe, but I just to me, it's an unworkable plan.
It has been, and I think that comes to some of the questions some people have. Okay, you can tax it if the value goes up, but what happens if the value goes down? Do you give Jeff Bezos a refund?
Right.
That's why traditionally you tax actual revenues, versus trying to gauge, how much the stuff could be worth and trying to tax on that. So that tends to be a real issue going forward on that. We'll see if that gets put back in because obviously they're still negotiating it. So according to reporters on Twitter, there could be a vote on Build Back Better maybe as soon as Thursday if the language comes out.
The Democrats need a win, and let's just be brutally honest about it. They need to be able to take something back during the next election cycle to say we've gotten something done. And if they can't, it's going to be a tough year for Democrats anyways, just because of the normal cycle of things. If they can't take something back and say, look what we did for you, it's going to be a problem. So at what point does this game of chicken come to an end?
I think we'll see some movement one way or the other probably after today, as you've already talked about. All eyes are on Virginia right now, Glenn Youngkin versus Terry McAuliffe in the governor's race there. I think there's a lot of eyeballs on that to see where that goes. And if that turns out to be a victory for the Republicans, I think you're going to see a number of things change. Not only that, I know the governor's race gets all the eyeballs, but, there's a 5-seat majority in the Virginia House of Delegates. And if that switches hands, you're going to see some people kind of change. I think you're going to see a lot of pressure to get the bipartisan infrastructure bill out, to get that win you're talking about. And I think you'll even see progressives on board at that point, because it's all you're going to be able to get. It's really going to put Build Back Better in danger. You got other senators. Manchin gets all the attention, and as does Kristen Sinema of Arizona. But, there are other Democrats that they're kind of being a heat shield for. Maggie Hassan up in New Hampshire is a good example of a Democrat that could be vulnerable in the next election if Governor Sununu decides to run as a Republican up there. And even though Mark Warner in Virginia isn't up again until 2026, because he just got reelected, if that Virginia race goes towards the Republicans, I think you're going to see some real reluctance to do a big social spending spree, via Build Back Better. I think it's going to have an effect on all of that. So I think they're going to have to take the win on the bipartisan infrastructure, and that's the progressives are all about. Just if we can't have both, then we'll get nothing. I guess we'll see if that's the case. But I'm seeing a lot of movement on the progressive side, particularly progressive House members, that tells me that they may go ahead and suck it up and vote for the bipartisan infrastructure package.
I think your point about today being critical is absolutely on target. Virginia's got not just the governor's race, which is the big marquee race, but the lieutenant governor, I think it's the attorney general, also could conceivably switch parties. A very narrow margin in their legislature, so that could switch. And suddenly you've got, instead of a strong blue state, now you've got, at least a purple state, if not turning red. So that's of great concern, I think. And if that, depending on how it plays out, Democrats have got to reassess where they're heading in the future. Stephen, I know that sort of the ins and outs of all of Capitol Hill is not necessarily your bailiwick. Is there any thought that by Democrats that they could pull any GOP votes over for the Build Back Better bill? If Manchin and Sinema are saying absolutely not, can they replace those votes with somebody else? Is there that kind of conversation going on? And I understand it may not be your area of expertise, so if it's not, that's fine. But I'm just wondering about that.
I would be very surprised that they'd be able to pull Republicans over for Build Back Better. However, I do think the bipartisan infrastructure package, in the House would get Republican votes. I'm going out on a limb here, but I feel fairly comfortable when saying that I imagine David McKinley would support such a thing. I've talked to him about that before, and he had certainly expressed support for that type of bill. But it really kind of begs the question here, people voted for President Joe Biden, more or less to try to get back to some sense of normalcy, some sense of, getting past the craziness and the zaniness of the Trump years. And in no way is Biden anywhere close to Donald Trump here. But the fact that they're trying to push such, large spending that is more than the New Deal and more than the Great Society combined, and trying to do it when you have a 50-50 Senate that has to have ties broken by Vice President Kamala Harris and has to have 60 votes really to get anything done unless you do it through a reconciliation process, when you have a Congress that's pretty much made up of just 3.4, just a slim majority of Democratic control in the House. It really, you kind of have to ask why to some extent, because, when they passed the Great Society, there was a vast majority of Democrats in the House and the Senate. Same goes for the New Deal. They had the votes easily to pass all that stuff, but now they just don't. They just don't have the votes really to do this type of thing, but to trying it anyway. And again, I think a lot of what's going to happen is after the votes happen today, I think it might actually give some of these Democrats in the leadership a little bit of cold feet going forward, and they may have to start retooling their strategy, because this go for broke thing, when you don't have the votes, I just don't understand it just as a political watcher.
It's been my perspective as well. There comes a point where you've got to say, my dreams have got to give way to reality. And the reality is, I just don't think you're going to get we know they're not going to get the big wish list that had been desired. You've got to figure out what's the most I can get that I can take back and say, I've done this much now. And if we can hold on to control, maybe we can do it again, another round of this at some point. But a lot of folks, and some of the key progressives in the House especially, are just not willing to look at what I consider to be the reality of the lay of the land right now. And that may end up being their downfall. We'll see. Stephen, I appreciate your time this morning. Are you settled in? Do you feel comfortable in your new home now?
Just picking up a couple more things from my mother-in-law's place in Wyoming County, where she has some antique curio cabinets, a hutch, and dining room table. That's all we need. We'll get that Saturday, and then we'll be ready to start preparing for Thanksgiving in a few weeks. So yeah, we're pretty settled. I even fixed our bathroom sink, and so I've even put plumber in my job title.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to keep on following. Of course, I always follow your tweets, but I'm always curious to see how the House is coming along. So we'll be watching for that. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Howard.
Stephen Adams, the Ogden newspaper chain, with us not each morning, with us here from time to time on the Watchdog Morning Shows. 9:30, 8:22 till the hour. Coming up in the next half hour, of course, we'll check in with the folks in the Big Seven, Bob or Brenda or whoever is with us, to see what they are working on today. In the meantime, I've got a few other odds and ends I may get to before we get to Bob. But before we get to my odds and ends, let's get to Metro News and to Bill DeFabio Sports here on the Watchdog Morning Show for a Tuesday.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
West Virginia Metro News.
I realize I screwed that up, Biff. Are we going to be able to get everything in here? Okay.
Received their booster shot, but Justice says that number is too low. U.S. Senator Joe Manchin says he wants to understand the financial impact of President Biden's domestic policy proposal. He says he's not yet sold on it.
However, as more of the real details outlined, the basic framework are released, what I see are shell games, budget gimmicks that make the real cost of the so-called $1.75 trillion bill estimated to be almost twice that amount if the full time is run out.
Meanwhile, Manchin is urging passage on the infrastructure bill in the House of Representatives. Life in prison, that's the sentence for a Parkersburg man convicted of stabbing his neighbor to death in June 2019. A Wood County judge sentenced 33-year-old Chester Lilly on Monday for the murder of Travis Peters. Lilly will not be eligible for parole. The state school building authority has about $80 million to spend on school construction projects. 26 counties are seeking funding. County school superintendents made their pitches Monday and will continue today before the SBA. You're listening to Metro News, the voice of West Virginia. West Virginians can begin signing up for coverage plans through the health insurance marketplace. The first day of open enrollment was Monday. Dalton Paxman, acting regional director of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, says plans will be cheaper this year.
4 out of 5 health consumers will be able to find coverage for $10 or less per month, with the extra savings made available under the American Rescue Plan.
The enrollment period has been extended an extra month to January 15th. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Carrie Hudasek.
1. In case you missed it, Monday Night Football in Kansas City, the Chiefs struggled, but they managed to beat the lowly Giants 20-17. Let's hear from Kansas City head coach Andy Reid.
I was proud of our defense and the way that they played. I was proud of our crowd and for the things, the way they stayed with us through some up and downs.
About the Chiefs. Yeah, they improved to 4-4. But boy, you talk about penalty flags. The Chiefs recorded a total of 12 penalties. This is quarterback Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, we're still moving the ball and doing a lot of things great, but whenever you turn the ball over, get a penalty and get pushed back, that kind of ruins drives. But I think we've done a lot of great things.
Giants dropped to 2-6. The trade deadline in the National Football League is 4 p.m. today. Will the Pittsburgh Steelers play? Let's make a deal. The NFL Network is reporting that the Steelers, they're shopping veteran pass rusher Melvin Ingram, who was inactive for the Cleveland Browns game. And if you missed it, Monday Denver traded an all-pro defensive player Von Miller to the Rams for 2 draft picks. Today may not be a good day for Derrick Henry because he's going to be out of action for a long time. Derrick will have foot surgery today. No timetable on his return. And if you're hungry for some baseball, the World Series will continue with Game 6 tonight in Houston as the Astros host the Atlanta Braves. The Braves lead that best-of-7, 3-2. This is Houston manager Dusty Baker.
You know, like you'll wear your stars out. They can't do it all the time. And you have to have, other guys on your team that you call upon.
I'm Bill DeFabio on sports, and we are the Watchdog, the voice of your Ohio Valley.
Hi, this is Hoppy Kercheval. Join me weekdays at 10:06, right after the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe for Statewide Talk Line. I'll have guests, conversations, texts, phone calls, on all the big stories affecting West Virginia. So tune in weekdays right here on FM 98.1 and FM 97.7, The Watchdog.
Are you traveling? Working a little bit too much? Is your fur baby starting to get a little shaggy? Let Dirty Paws be your one-stop shop for all of your pet care needs. Stop in and see us at 202 18th Street or give us a call at 304-639-7754 to schedule your appointments for dog grooming, doggy daycare, and dog boarding today.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Hello, I'm Chuck Reddick, Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service. We're working hard to get ready for tax filing season. You know who else is working hard? Identity thieves. Keep your computers and your mobile phones secure. Use antivirus software and strong passwords. Look out for email scams. Secure your home Wi-Fi with a password. Stay safe when you shop online. Look for HTTPS in the web address. See irs.gov for details.
Keep up with the ever-changing world of sports all night long. Sports Map Radio is on the Watchdog, FM 98.1, AM 1600. Every weeknight at 6 p.m., join the voice of the Mountaineers, Tony Caridi, on the Watchdog. Tony informs and entertains WVU fans with the latest Mountaineer sports news. If it happens in the world of gold and blue, Tony knows about it and shares it with you. Sportsline, weeknights at 6 on the Watchdog.
Live and local for the Ohio Valley. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
Tell me how long you gonna stay here, Joe?
Temperature has literally not changed I don't think at all since we started the show. 42 degrees, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 44 degrees here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 43 at the Robinson Autograph Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. peeking out the window. It looks like it's still cloudy and overcast outside. Maybe a little bit of fog. I can't tell if that's fog or just clouds out there, but it looks cloudy at the very least. It's going to be cloudy and cooler during the day today. Daytime high only 48, not a whole lot warmer than where we are right now. Temperatures tonight drop down below freezing. We'll have post-freezing temperatures for much of the week this week. Coming up today here on the Watchdog Morning Show at 10:06, of course, it is Statewide Talk Line, Hoppy Kercheval, and he'll be talking about much of what we have been talking about today as well, from the Sabato's Crystal Ball, the national political site. The managing editor, Kyle Kondik, will be on to talk about the upcoming not upcoming, but today's Virginia election. That is going to be a really critical election. Some thoughts on that. Also today on this Build Back Better bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Senator Joe Manchin will be on with Hoppy. Yes, he still goes on with Hoppy. If anybody sees Joe, tell him, say, Oldman Road, I still like to talk to him. Don't get much action there. All those national people are all around him, but Hop gets it. Hoppy will have Senator Manchin on today, and also Senator Capito will be on today, both talking about the Build Back Better bill. General Jim Hoyer, the head of the task force on COVID in West Virginia, will talk about booster shots and shots for kids. That'll be coming up today with Hoppy on Statewide Talk Line, and of course your texts and your calls as well. Hoppy Kercheval, 10:06 today here on the Watchdog, and from 10:06 till noon. Then at noon today, let's see, today's Tuesday, right, Biff?
It is Tuesday, yes.
So it's the WVU press conference today. Neil Brown will talk about the past weekend's game, and probably be happy to do that, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a top 25 win against any team, but especially an Iowa State team that the previous week at home had upset Oklahoma State, and they were coming into Morgantown on Saturday, riding pretty high, and West Virginia knocked them off that high horse that they were on Saturday, and I believe that same Oklahoma State team is who West Virginia will have on Saturday, so it'll be interesting to see what West Virginia can do coming off a big win and see if they can keep that momentum going.
So that's today at noon, live, the Neil Brown press conference. Every Tuesday we carry that press conference for you here on the Watchdog. When Coach Brown is done, it'll be time for Coach DeFabio. Bill DeFabio's Variety Show will be here from 1 until 3 o'clock this afternoon. Dave Weekley with the Hotline Show at 3 o'clock. I know I've said this from time to time. Every time I tune into Dave Weekley, I realize what a good show that is. Really how entertaining. I learn a lot of stuff, too. Not so much about the news and so on, although he gets into that, but a lot of pop culture stuff. We have learned over the last couple of days. I need to be educated better in pop culture. So a lot of good stuff. Dave Weekley and Hotline from 3 to 5. I encourage you to check it out today and every day from 3 to 5 here on the Watchdog. Buckeye Roundtable tonight at 8 after Tony Caridi is on with Sportsline at 6 o'clock. And that's some of what we have coming up. I want to mention, there is going to be a basketball game this weekend, Biffy. The Ohio Valley Lions versus the Ohio Valley All-Stars. It is a fundraiser for the North Wheeling Youth Center and for the Thanksgiving food and Christmas basket giveaways that our friend, the Reverend Cummings, does. I had to chuckle. He sent me some information. He said, Howard, would you like to be on one of the teams? I'm sorry, Rev. I think I misunderstood you. Did you ask if I wanted to play basketball? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's the thought that counts.
Yes, exactly. I wonder what he'd have done if I said, sure. I'm going, oh, God, help me. What am I going to do now? I'm like the last guy you pick for dodgeball. It's like, I guess I got to have him. He's the last one left, Oh, God, what do I do with Monroe? Anyways, it's coming up this coming Sunday at 6 o'clock at the Highland Sports Complex. The tickets are, you can buy tickets right now I'll give you a number to call for information. But it's really just a comedy basketball game is what it is. And it's going to be some local folks in it, I think police and fire and maybe local celebrities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not me, but local celebrities and so on. And all proceeds will go to the North Wheeling Youth Center's Thanksgiving, food, and Christmas basket giveaways. We will talk to the Reverend about the Thanksgiving giveaways here probably next week on the show. But I just want to call to your attention, 6 o'clock on Sunday at the Highlands Sports Complex, which has become a pretty busy place anymore, Biffy. You can check that out. Now, if you want to get tickets or get more information, 304-233-8899, 304-233-8899. So keep that in mind. Biffy, you know what we also should mention here real quick? We talked yesterday about the football games we have coming up this week. We actually had a schedule change. Is that correct for the Central game this week?
Yes. Wheeling Central was supposed to play Oak Glen Friday night at 7 o'clock at Oak Glen. That game has been changed to Thursday. That's Thursday, November 4th. Still same time, 7 o'clock, just for whatever reason they had to.
Is it still Oak Glen? I mean, same team, same.
Yeah, it's still Oak Glen. So I don't know what happened, but something happened and it forced the Wheeling Central Oak Glen game to be moved from Friday to Thursday, November 4th, still at 7 o'clock.
All right, so that's for your edification. That'll be on Thursday instead of Friday. From WTRF TV7, News Director Brenda Dainhardt is here with us. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, Howard. How are you?
It's an overcast day. I start to say it's a wonderful day, but I'm feeling good. I feel good. My coffee's been good this morning, you know.
That's the best part. I know, isn't coffee the best?
Well, you know, we had this conversation with Aaron this morning. He says, "Well, I don't drink much coffee." He's like, "What's wrong with you?"
I mean, I guess when people say that, I don't understand because I kiddingly have said that I think it's the only thing that keeps me going in the morning, but I really do believe that.
He says sometimes when he drinks coffee, he goes up and down. I said, "There's a real simple way to solve that problem. Just keep on drinking it."
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many cups you do, but I do 2.5, maybe 3 sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, probably, you're right, probably 2.5.
Yeah.
I kind of pace it 1 hour. You know, at the top of the hour news break, each hour I refill the cup.
Well, you get up early too, so.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But but there are some mornings, and that we talked about this morning. This morning, that first sip was like, oh man, this is like nectar
so
from
good.
the gods, you know.
So good.
Some days it's so good. What do you got going on today?
Well, obviously, Ohio has some elections. There aren't a ton. It's a really relatively small election. But the interesting thing, as you know, is the sensible marijuana, which is in, I think it's about 9 counties. 4 in Belmont, I think. 5 actually. Martins Ferry, Brookside. No, 4. Martins Ferry, Brookside, Morristown, and Powhatan in Belmont County, and then maybe another 4 in Jefferson County. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how those come out and how people vote on that. We talked to the Bill Schmidt, who is, is hoping that this does pass, and he is hopeful that it passes in all of the 9 communities. So we'll see. That's interesting. And then just a little, a lot of littler races, a couple mayor races. I guess Bel Air will have a new mayor after quite a long time. And Shady Side, I believe, has a mayor's race. Council seats are up for grabs, and then a lot of Board of Education. So very small in scale to what we normally, have to deal with. So Bob is handling that end of it tonight, and we'll have, everything on WTRF.com. That's going to be the place to go all night long if you're interested in a particular race. Everything will be housed there once we get the votes in.
I'm going to be looking forward to watching watching on your screen and also checking out the website because I have not followed what even is coming up in Belmont County. As you said, I know there's a lot of little races, but
little races.
I want to, and I am really intrigued, as you said, about this whole idea of essentially decriminalizing the misdemeanor marijuana. I didn't even realize we had these things until you guys did the story about it. So I find that really really interesting, and I'll be curious to see how the voters vote on that.
Yeah, what they say about it and how they feel. So yeah, we probably, I mean, we won't have earlier vote totals in, I don't think, until after 9 sometime. So the best bet is to first go to WTRF.com, and then of course our 10 p.m. on My Ohio Valley, we'll have them at the bottom of the screen, all of the ones that we do have in at that time, which should be a good amount by 10, and then obviously then we'll have them on the bottom of the screen at 11 o'clock as well. So that's the main thing we're working on today. And kind of another one that's interesting, DK's out on now. It's called International Save a Life Tour. This is in Cadiz, and it's a comprehensive high impact safe driving awareness program. So it not only informs, but it educates and demonstrates some of the deadly consequences that you can have from making poor choices. So that's kind of interesting. She's out covering that right now. And then we have council today, nothing huge, but a few things going on there. And then Stephanie right now is at the Marshall County Commission as well to see what comes out of there. And lastly, the Jaden Lucas pretrial is supposedly going on right now in Western Court. He's the one that's charged in that bullying of the Barnesville young man. So very interesting. We'll let you know what happens with that. But pretty much the elections, and then I heard you talking about, I think you were mentioning Reverend Cummings.
Yes.
And the basketball. And then also don't forget we have the Dancing with the Ohio Valley Stars, and Aaron probably talked about that to you. Yeah,
Aaron
he's in
mentioned
that.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big event and helps so many kids at the Augusta, Levy Learning Center. And, if anybody can come on out, if they've never seen it, I've been to every one of them, and they're just not only a great time to watch these people, but, it also is such a great cause.
Now, are you playing basketball on one of these teams?
Yeah, no. But John Lynch, our web manager, who does the great web work you always see, he is playing. Zach was going to play, but something came up where he can't make it now. So we'll have 1 or 2 of our representatives on the team for Reverend Cummings.
Reverend Cummings asked me, he said, Howard, would you like to be on one of the teams? And I laughed and laughed and laughed.
Can you imagine me out there? I'd be like, what? Not even in my younger days could I do that, let alone in my older days. But
you know what they say, Brenda? It's always nice to at least be asked, right?
That's right. That's right. I totally agree with you. So that's about it for today, other than it's cold outside, and it looks like it might warm up a little bit into the 50s this weekend, so that's good news, too.
All right, listen, good talking to you. Have a good day. We'll be watching the coverage throughout the day for all of the stories. You guys going to do, I shouldn't ask this on the air, are you going to do any kind of follow-up to this Tyler Consolidated story?
Yes, we were down there last night. Did you see that story that we did? Yeah.
And I found it really interesting. It's a very intriguing story.
It is.
I feel like there's more that I need to know, and I'm not quite sure what that is. But
Agreed. Yeah, I did talk to the superintendent yesterday, and I know you got to go, but I did talk to Mr. Hiley, and he said that he won't comment until the investigation is complete, and the investigation is not complete yet. So we will follow up, yes, and when he's ready to tell us more, then I think there is more to hear.
Yeah, I just feel like there's something I'm not quite getting from what's happening there.
I don't understand it either. So we'll see what comes out of that, because it doesn't sound quite right. I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll get it all worked out, and I'm sure that they'll have the answers for us.
Brenda, good talking to you. We'll do it again sometime soon. I'll talk to somebody tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.
You too. And Biffy, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Good Lord willing, creeks don't rise. Are you back with me?
Back for a Wednesday.
We'll keep on doing it until we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed. ABC News already in progress, because I'm running late again, which I always do. I run too late, but it's ABC News time.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Home, his own party.
All right, Biffy. Managed to make it through. Wasn't too bad. That's just, yep. Nothing scheduled yet for tomorrow. We'll probably do a lot of post-election conversation, I suppose. Virginia and other places. I need to get maybe Matt or Bob Ney to reflect on Virginia's election. I'll have to see. We'll get somebody on. And I don't know what else. Oh, there's going to, despite what Brenda said, I think there's actually going to be some interesting council stuff, so I may try and get some follow-up to Wheeling Council on tomorrow. And unless I hear differently, it's a short show, so that should take care of things. Yeah, sure. You're right. All right, I've got some city stuff to contend with today, but I'll be around most of the day, so if you or anybody needs me, give me a call. And if not, I'll just talk to you in the morning. All right, thanks for your help as always. I appreciate it. All right, bye.
Whether to replace their police department with a public service safety department. Opening statements begin shortly in Kyle Rittenhouse's trial. He is accused of driving from Illinois to Kenosha, Wisconsin with an assault-style weapon, killing 2 and wounding 1 during last summer's racial unrest. This is ABC News.
I'm one of thousands of women with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body. I'm living in the moment and taking Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for postmenopausal women or for men with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy.
Be in your moment. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com.
Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead